Okay, so we are in 2 Samuel chapter 3. Anybody want to just say what happened in the first couple of chapters so far?
Lots of killing.
Yes, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there's more to come.
More to come.
Yes. We've got Saul and Jonathan are dead, and as well as other sons of Saul. David sings a song, like a funeral song for them. What else?
I always remember the Amalekite, the lion, that he was the
Yeah.
one that killed
Yes.
Saul, and bringing some things to David, hoping for probably a reward or at least a pat on the back.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trying to get some favor with the next appointed king, right? Yes.
But he got killed.
Yes, he did. David
Shocked.
said, "You're gonna get your just desserts there, buddy, because
Yeah.
who are you to lay a hand against the Lord's anointed?" Yeah, absolutely.
And the battle between Joab and Abner's army, so
Yes.
David and Judah versus the rest of Israel.
Right.
Is beginning to form.
Because at this point, David is king over the tribe of Judah, and Saul's house, we're going to call it Saul's house, is still the power over the rest of Israel. It's mainly Abner that is really the one that's initiating everything, that is working behind the scenes. And remember, Abner is Saul's cousin and his commander of his army. And eventually, Abner sets up Saul's one last remaining son, Ishbosheth, to be the king. But it's a very weak, he's a weak man, and it doesn't go well. So we have this civil war, like you were saying, the civil war that's between David's house and Saul's house, and there was that nasty battle. Asahel is killed by Abner, and remember, Asahel is one of David's nephews. So David has 3 nephews that are from his sister Zeruiah, and that's Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. And so Asahel is killed by Abner, and so now Joab and Abishai want revenge for that death, and so that's what comes up in this next chapter here. So chapter 3, verse 1. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, and David grew steadily stronger, but the house of Saul grew weaker continually. This verse really summarizes that time of civil war between Judah and the rest of Israel. But I feel like it also is a nod back to, remember when Saul was still alive, and David, everything that he did, he prospered because God was with him. And Saul got continually more and more paranoid and weaker with power. And so it kind of nods back to that. That's continuing even here now, even though Saul is gone. Verse 2. Sons were born to David at Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon by Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and his second Gilead by Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmi, king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah, the son of Haggith, and the fifth Shephatiah, the son of Abital, and the sixth Ithream by David's wife Eglah, and these were born to David at Hebron. Part of David's strengthening of his house is listed here. We see this incredible blessing by God of all these sons. Look at all the children that are born to David during his time in Hebron. And the other part that goes with it is, with all these many children, they are not just born to one wife, they are born to many. And if you'll notice, I know that we know the story of Abigail. We read about that in 1 Samuel. we've been introduced to the name of Ahinoam the Jezreelitess. I believe he married her during his time as a fugitive. But then the rest of these women would have been during, presumably during the years as king of Judah. And so what's he doing here? We've got Ahinoam the Jezreelitess. Jezreel is right up in this area right here. This is Jezreel. Carmel for Abigail. She's down here in the land of Judah. And then we've got Maacah, which is the daughter of Talmi, king of Geshur. Not on the map, but is actually an independent nation. It's not part of Israel. It is part of the territory that is allotted to the tribe of Manasseh. So it's over here somewhere. But they are not actually part of Israel. I believe they're Arameans, actually. And so that is very different. We see that David is not just marrying, I believe he is a man whose weakness is women. We see that. However, this is not just that. It is also a political power. It is political marriages for connections, for alliances, etc. That was very common of the day for kings. And so we see already David is adopting the practices of other kings of his time, of what the culture expected of him. God did not approve of this. What are a couple of reasons why God would not approve of this?
He's marrying non-Israelite women, for
Yes.
one, and idol worship and their gods coming into play.
Yes, that was something that was said in, I believe, Deuteronomy. The law of Moses literally says that it knows that Israel will one day have a king, and it says one day when you have a king, he should not be acquiring lots of gold and silver. He should not go back to Egypt to get lots of horses, and he should not take on many wives lest they lead his heart astray. And we saw that with Solomon for sure, but that's also a warning to all the kings. Yes. What else?
Well, go ahead, that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
marriage is supposed to be between a man and a woman, not a man and a woman and a woman.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. Genesis says man should leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two become one flesh, not the 3, 4, 5 like you said. This is not a multiples situation. So it goes completely against God's design for marriage. Another reason that you may not think of is that, okay, with these political marriages, and the intent of them is what?
Gain
To gain more
power.
power.
Yes, to gain power, to gain alliance with another nation. You're essentially saying, my people and your people will be friends. We will help each other. We will be unified together against common enemies. And to symbolize that unification, I will be united to one of yours, the daughter of your king. And that union symbolizes the unity of our nations. That's the alliance. And a part of that is I'm depending on you for provisions. I'm depending on you for help when times of need, for defense, and vice versa. That goes against what God wanted of Israel. Israel was meant to be a nation set apart from the other nations, from the world. He wanted Israel to come to him primarily for defense. He said, he promised, I will defend you. I will protect you. I will provide for you. I am your king. I will take care of all of your needs. And so to do this is not trusting that God will take care of all of the needs of Israel. So that is something that David is doing that is not approved of by God for many reasons. It goes against his design for marriage, and it is not trusting God for his provision and for his defense in times of need. But despite David's sin at this point, God is still blessing him with many sons. The problem is that these many sons, born to many wives, are going to cause a lot of trouble in David's life. There is going to be a lot of dysfunction in the family and in the dynasty in general. So, verse 6. It came about while there was a war between the house of Saul and the house of David that Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why have you gone into my father's concubine?" Then Abner was very angry over the words of Ishbosheth and said, "Am I a dog's head that belongs to Judah? Today I show kindness to the house of Saul, your father, to his brothers and to his friends, and have not delivered you into the hands of David. And yet today you charge me with a guilt concerning the woman. May God do so to Abner and more also, as the Lord has sworn to David, I do not accomplish this for him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and to establish the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba." And he could no longer answer Abner a word because he was afraid of him. So we have Abner, who is making every opportunity that he can to make himself higher and further in the house of Saul. He sees that Ishbosheth is a weak man and a coward. He has more claim to the throne because he is Saul's son. And so that's why he is king. But he's a really poor king. And so Abner's really the one that's pulling the strings behind the scenes. And so he is making himself more and more strong. And then all of a sudden, he gets accused by Ishbosheth. And I have no idea why Ishbosheth accused him. Maybe he truly believed it. Maybe it really happened. Maybe it really didn't happen. We don't know. It doesn't tell us whether that happened or not. It's possible. There's a lot of possibilities. It's possible that Ishbosheth saw Abner getting stronger and was trying to undercut him. It's possible that he really did think that happened. It's possible that Abner really did do that. There's a lot of possibilities. We are not told truly what happened. But he is accused of sleeping with Saul's concubine. And that was a very serious charge because it wasn't just a matter of weakness of the flesh. It was a play for the throne. It was a claim to the throne because to sleep with the king's concubine, first of all, that's an action that is purely for the king. And so saying, I'm as good as the king essentially in this moment because I'm doing something that the king is reserved for. The other thing is that a concubine could have a child that could possibly make its way to the throne one day. And so there are a lot of reasons regarding this where that was a very serious charge against Abner. And so it's interesting. Abner doesn't say he didn't do it. He just gets really angry, really angry at this accusation. That's interesting. But he's basically like, listen, all that I've done for you, for the house of Saul, which not totally true. He's done it for himself, really. And he's like, listen, if this is the way I'm going to be treated, then forget you. I'm switching sides. That's what's happening. And I think in this moment, this is a very pivotal moment. In this moment, he's basically like, you know what? I have better chances getting farther with David. He knows, if you see in verse 9, he says, "May God do so to Abner and more also, if as the Lord has sworn to David, I do not accomplish this for him to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and to establish the throne of David over Israel." He knows that David is to be the next king. That is not how do I put this? That's common knowledge. That is something that everyone knows and everyone believes. What's happening is Abner is resisting that. He is fighting against it as far as he can because he wants to take himself as far as possible. But he knows it. Even he knows that David's the next king. So basically he's thinking, you know what? I'm just going to switch sides and I'm going to see how far I can get with David. And if I'm the one that transfers the power over to him, then maybe I can make myself a good position. Maybe David will give me a good position. And so it says, I'm going to establish the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. That became this like proverbial saying. It's almost like how we say coast to coast. It's Dan's at the north and Beersheba's at the south. And so it's the whole territorial length of Israel. I'm going to make sure he is king over everything. And Ishbosheth, the weak man that he is, he's too afraid to even say another word to Abner. So verse 12, then Abner sent messengers to David in his place, saying, whose is the land? Make your covenant with me, and behold, my hand shall be with you to bring all Israel over to you. And he said, good, I will make a covenant with you. But I demand one thing of you, namely, you shall not see my face until you first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come to see me. So David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, give me my wife Michal, to whom I was betrothed, for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, from Paltiel, the son of Laish. But her husband went with her, weeping as he went, and followed her as far as Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, go return, and so he returned. Okay, so David is saying, I'm willing to make a treaty with you, a covenant with you, because remember, they're enemies at this point, and he's saying, yeah, I'm willing to make a peace treaty with you, but first, this is my one demand, and it's that I receive and am reunited with my first wife, Michal. Why now, David? Why now?
I feel like it gives him a little bit like of an end to the throne, just like why he was marrying all of these other women too.
Exactly, because Michal is Saul's daughter. That's just that much more connection that he needs to all the people, all the tribes that are loyal to Saul, specifically to the tribe of Benjamin. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's another power play on his point.
But she's already married again.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't just, oh, he's gathering women. No, now he's gathering somebody who is married to somebody else.
There is a lot of different thoughts on this. When I was reading through commentaries, everybody had a different take on it, because it kind of comes down to, was it right for David to take her back? One, he was not legally divorced. She's still his wife. And maybe he is thinking that in his head. She's still my wife, so I can do that. But, like, he didn't care until now. Clearly this is all politically, like, funded. But was he right or was he wrong? The other thought is, there is a verse in, I think it might be Deuteronomy again, where it talks about a woman who leaves or is separated from her first husband and is remarried. She should never return to that first husband. And so there is a law in the Torah that is regarding that. She should not return to her first husband. And so is David breaking the Torah here by taking Michal away from her husband and taking her back? There's a whole, I don't know. I don't have a yes or no to any of this. Thankfully God does. He can take care of that, that's fine. Because it comes down to a lot of things legally, They were not truly divorced. It was wrong for Saul to give Michal away in marriage again. That was for sure a wrong thing on his part. I don't know. It's kind of an iffy situation here. But what I think is interesting is that David specifically sends the message to Ishbosheth. And then Ishbosheth grants the request. And I'm thinking, are all the lights on? Because Ishbosheth, you should see that this is definitely a power play by David here. You can see what his motives are, right? But he still grants a request. I have no idea why he did that. Maybe it was, he's thinking, you know what, my father did was wrong, and I'm going to help make that right. Or if he just doesn't have it all together upstairs, or what. I have no idea what the reasoning is.
That's his sister.
Yes. If they are born of the same mother. But, well, I guess, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yes. Yep. I feel bad for Paltiel, though. Poor guy. The husband. I know. First time I read that, I was laughing a little bit, and then the second time I read it, I was like, oh, sorry.
My Bible said it was, I thought the same, weeping. I'd rather go to David. You're weeping behind me. You should be fighting for me.
Isn't that romantic, though? Doesn't that just prove his
No.
love for her? No?
I pictured a weakling.
Don't leave. But my Bible says
Who
it
will
was,
do the dishes?
it was anguished weeping,
Anguished.
and we shouldn't be down on him.
No.
It was anguished
Maybe
weeping.
he thought there was no point fighting David, you know what I mean? He's like,
Oh,
well,
no,
he's
I'm
gonna
sure
kill me anyway.
he was weak.
Yeah, he was weak. He should have died for her.
Yeah. You'd have a lot more respect.
You've read a few
Marshall,
too many
Marshall.
romance.
He's crying because he slept with all the kids. And now
That's the question. Did she have children with
very
him?
practical.
Yeah, they took her
No
mother
doubt.
away.
They took the
This
mother.
is weird, like, it's like.
But did
something-
she
Or the
have
kids
children?
came with her.
But did she have children?
She was like, oh no. Sorry.
What a strange situation, like, someone telling you have to leave your husband, like,
Yes.
I know that's just how the culture was back then, but,
I know, but still
and
strange.
she has no say in that, she just has to, she's his property.
That's
I
just
mean, I know
it.
that is, but,
I know. Unfortunately, she's just a pawn in a
Yeah.
political
no, it's sad.
maneuver here. Yeah, it is.
Say she loved him though, and
Yeah, that's
in verse 8,
She did,
Oh, yeah.
but time has passed since then.
yeah.
And what are her feelings to her second husband? And all
She
these
wants
things.
David.
She doesn't later.
She has to share him with like 10 other women.
Yeah.
But she was his first.
That's true.
That makes a difference.
Um,
Oh, good points.
Okay, where are we? Verse 17. Now Abner had consultation with the elders of Israel, saying, in times past you were seeking for David to be king over you. That's an interesting little bit of information that we would not have otherwise known if it wasn't for this verse. That at one point during this time of civil war, the northern tribes of Israel were actually considering, they had a movement going to make David king. And we would not have known that if it wasn't for this verse. Not sure what stopped it. Maybe Abner. Not sure. But now Abner reminds them, he's like, don't you remember you guys wanted at one point for David to be king over you? Verse 18. Now then, do it. For the Lord has spoken of David, saying, by the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies. Abner also spoke in the hearing of Benjamin. And in addition, Abner went to speak in the hearing of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel and to the whole house of Benjamin. So he's kind of leading this campaign of, David for king, all through Israel, specifically to Benjamin, that's his tribe, and the tribe of Saul and Ishbosheth. So it's the royal tribe at this point. And then he takes it to the hearing of David at Hebron, and he kind of gives him the report. All of Israel, including Benjamin, is in support of you. Verse 20, then Abner and 20 men with him came to David at Hebron, and David made a feast for Abner and the men who were with him. And Abner said to David, let me arise and go and gather all Israel to my lord the king, that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may be king over all that your soul desires. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. If you remember, covenants were typically made over food. That was the traditional way of making a covenant, was with a feast. And so that's what's happening here. They're making a covenant together, and Abner is saying, let me go. I'm going to gather all of the elders of Israel, and together we will formally make a covenant together with you. And so that's what he is on a mission to do. Verse 22, and behold, the servants of David and Joab came from a raid and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. When Joab and all the army that was with him arrived, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has sent him away, and he has gone in peace. And then Joab came to the king and said, what have you done? Behold, Abner came to you. Why then have you sent him away, and he is already gone? You know Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive you, and to learn of your going out and coming in, and to find out all that you are doing. So during this time that Abner is with David, Joab, and he has a little raiding party they're away for the time being. After Abner has left Hebron and he's on his way to go gather all the elders of Israel, Joab and his raiding party come back, and Joab finds out. And he's upset with David, because he's like, David, don't you remember? This is our enemy. This is our enemy. But more specifically, it's Joab's enemy, because Joab has vowed to get revenge for the death of his brother Asahel. And so he is personally angry that David would just not only make a covenant with him, but just let him leave safely. And so verse 26, when Joab came out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back from the well of Sirah. But David did not know it. So this was a very deceptive thing of Joab on his part. So when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into the middle of the gate to speak with him privately. The gate is where they would conduct business, typically. So it wasn't a weird thing for him to do this. And there he struck him in the belly, so that he died on account of the blood of Asahel, his brother. Okay, so Joab murders him in cold blood. But not only that, do you guys remember that Hebron is a city of what? Refuge. Hebron is a city of refuge. That is a place where someone seeks asylum and safety from the avenger. The avenger is not allowed to go into that city and to do anything to the accused or to the guilty while they are in that city. And so not only does Joab murder Abner in cold blood, but he murders him in a city of refuge. This is a very direct breaking of God's law in two accounts. A very direct.
Was going on, like the little bit of truth that we're at the gate. I wasn't actually in the city. of
Maybe.
the gate.
It was still cold-blooded murder, though. So, yeah. And so, where are we? Okay, verse 28. Afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are innocent before the Lord forever of the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. May it fall on the head of Joab and all of his father's house. May there not fail from the house of Joab one of a distaff who falls by the sword. Oh, sorry, I skipped. One who has a discharge, one who is a leper, or who takes hold of a distaff, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So the discharge would be some sort of a disease. Again, with leper, some sort of disease. One who takes hold of a distaff. Distaff was women's work. It had to do with making cloth. And so sometimes a man would do women's work if he was disabled in some way, and that was the only work that was appropriate for him, and he couldn't do men's work, what was considered men's work. And so he's basically saying he wishes there to be disease, disability, some sort of destruction onto his household. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner because he had put their brother Asahel to death in the battle of Gibeon. Verse 31, then David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, tear your clothes and gird on sackcloth and lament before Abner. And King David walked behind the bier. Okay, so interesting that he instructs everyone, including Joab. We are all grieving and mourning, and we are putting on this appearance of grief and sorrow for the death of Abner, including Joab. And then it says that King David walked behind the bier. This is the first mention of King David in the entire book. This is the first mention of it. And he's not even really anointed over all of Israel yet, but he basically is at this point, and so maybe that's why that's there. And he walked behind the bier. Are there other translations that are better than my translation? Procession, yes. Yes, essentially from what I can gather of it, it's like walking behind the casket,
Right.
almost.
Yeah.
This was another area, I'll tell you, this chapter was full of these gray areas where we don't really know what the motives were, and so we kind of just have to discuss it and then hold it loosely, because the author did not tell us. But this was another area where there was a lot of different theories on it. Some believe that, well, here, I'll read the rest of it and then we can discuss that. Verse 32, thus they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king chanted a lament for Abner and said, should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen. And all the people wept again over him. Then all the people came to persuade David to eat bread while it was still day. But David vowed, saying, may God do so to me and more also, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun goes down. Now all the people took note of it, and it pleased them, just as everything the king did pleased all the people. So all the people and all Israel understood that day that it had not been the will of the king to put Abner, the son of Ner, to death. There are some that think that David is putting on a show here. That he's basically using this as an opportunity for more political favor with the people. He's openly expressing his grief and his sorrow and his mourning. He's walking behind the procession, which means that everybody he passes will see that he is right there behind the casket of Abner. He has this little funeral song for him. He refuses to eat anything. And some people think that this was all just this big show to gain more political favor, which it worked. Personally, I don't think that it was a show, because we've seen that David is a very emotional person, and he doesn't hide that. He's very open and expressive about his emotions. He had a whole song for Saul and Jonathan at their deaths. Later, you all know this story about when he's bringing the ark into the city, and he's dancing before the Lord openly, before the people, wearing like his underwear, you know? Like, he's a very expressive man, and very genuine. I don't see that as a disgenuine thing. What are your thoughts?
The only thing I could think when you read verse 31 was David just like, go get your sackcloth on.
You're doing it.
You're gonna be sad.
And there will be tears.
I think you look at the rest of his character and you're probably right. I mean, it's not like he faked or was disingenuine, previously, so.
Right.
He can have two things at once, like,
Yeah.
yes, it's gaining him power, or, like around the people, but it's also how it really is feeling too.
I think if nothing else too, despite his personal feelings, I think that he would have seen this as a sin against the Lord, so that in itself would have made him, it be enough for him to be like, no, this was wrong. This
Yes,
is not
yes.
what I want.
Yes, and that leads to the next verse 38. Then the king said to his servants, "Do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? I am weak today, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too difficult for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his deed." So he wants it to be known that he had no part in it whatsoever, and that he disproved of it as well. And he even says, may the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil. He wants God to bring justice. However, his fault, David's fault in this, is that he did not do anything about it. Joab continues in the same position as he always was as commander of David's army. He is not punished in any way whatsoever, and that should have been David's job as king of Israel and as God's representative for Israel. He should have been the one that brought about some sort of punishment. Honestly, Joab should have been put to death. That was the appropriate punishment for the deed. But he didn't do it, and that's something that we are going to see with David. He has this bad habit of not taking care of business the way he should, specifically concerning people who are close to him, family. He has no ability for disciplining those who are close to him, and it is going to come back and bite him a number of times. Any thoughts on this chapter?
So my question was, when God made David king, did David not assume that meant all of Israel? And if it did, and he's only got Judah at this point, he's at fault clear back in making a deal, or is he at fault in promising to make a deal with Abner? Because it's like, it's already his in God's view. So David either doesn't really trust that God's gonna do that, or I can see where he probably figures it might be easier for Abner to help him get the house of Saul. David could have probably killed Abner himself. I mean, in a way, Joab did something that David could have done legally, probably. Or not.
True. I don't know. David has a big concern for honorable death. This is an honor shame culture.
Yeah.
And so in some ways it is acceptable to just have a man killed because of his deeds, like the Amalekite who claimed to have been the cause of Saul's death. That kind of thing. But Abner was coming to David to make peace and to unify. His plans were to unify Israel under David.
But did that only happen after he's accused of sleeping with the concubine and gets, what's his face, Ishmael stirred up?
Yes.
It sounds like it was a domino effect, that
Yes.
maybe, I mean, the verses before say they've been fighting.
Right.
The two houses, Saul's house, David's house, fighting.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Ishmael says, you slept with Saul's concubine. He knows the ramifications of that. And like you said, does a flip. Well, if that's what you're gonna do, then I'm gonna get in good with David. So like Joab said, he is a deceiver.
He is.
Abner didn't really come, you know, heart and hand to say, oh, I really see you should be our king.
Right.
He was saving his own
Oh, yes.
position,
Yes, it was self-preservation.
self-preservation.
Absolutely.
And so.
But I don't think
there's
that
a lot.
David is at wrong in that. Abner is the one that's at wrong here. David is just responding to the offer of peace and unity for Israel.
Even though it's called making an oath or making a league.
Yes, but he's not breaking any of the laws of the Torah in that. Like where he is with the marriages, multiple marriages, goes against God's law. And so in doing that, even for something good like an alliance or a connection or a treaty, that's still breaking God's law. And it's also not trusting him. I see what your point is about
Yeah.
not trusting God to hand that over to David, but it could be that David saw this as God handing it to him.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what David was thinking.
We don't.
He's made a few side steps that,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
make you question a few things that he's done.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. It is hard for us to really pinpoint, he was wrong here, he was right here, et cetera, et cetera. That's a really difficult thing sometimes in some of these areas. But we do see that God is still working out his plans, despite what people's motives might be.
Which is encouraging for us.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, God is still using David, even though he is breaking God's law of marrying multiple women. He used Abner to transfer the kingdom over with his life and his death. Truly, that was the pivotal moment for David becoming king over all of Israel. Was Abner first of all switching sides and talking to everyone, using his power and his position to speak to all the elders of Israel and getting everyone unified.
As a way of still saving his own neck, though.
But then even in his death, David's response to Abner's death is what solidified his favor with the people. The people saw and they loved David for that. And so, yeah.
Is the theory that if Abner hadn't been behind the scenes, Ishmael would have never suggested giving Israel to David?
I can't say. It didn't, we don't have a lot that's on it, Ishbosheth, so I don't know. It sounds to me like the only reason he became king is because of Abner. Abner's the one that made him king to begin
But he
with.
was Saul's son.
He was.
Was he the next in line after Jonathan and the other brothers are killed?
He's the only one left.
He's the only one left. So
Yes.
he is the heir.
He is the heir.
So for Abner to say, I'm gonna make you the king, when it's like, well, duh, I'm the only one here that's eligible.
But we have this verse that tells us that the tribes all wanted to make David king at one point. Remember, Ishbosheth was only king for 2 years out of the 7 years that David was king over Hebron, or over Judah.
Yeah.
And so it took some time even for Ishbosheth to get to the point where he was king. There was a lot of unrest in that area over what are we gonna do? Who are we gonna follow?
Yeah, I didn't
Are we
know
gonna
the
continue
timeframe.
following the house of Saul?
Yeah.
Or are we going to go ahead with the house of David? And at one point, there was a movement to have David, but something happened. My theory is that Abner got in the way, made Ishbosheth king, even though he was a poor choice for a king, but he was the only one left in line to do that,
Like a puppet.
like a puppet. Exactly. So,
And now Abner's dead and Ishmael is on his own.
yeah, yep. And it won't be around for much longer.
Till chapter 4, yeah.
Till chapter
Till
4.
chapter 4.
There's not a whole lot on this poor guy. I feel kind of bad for him, but. Well, let's just see if we can get any farther into chapter 4 really quick. Now, when Ishbosheth, Saul's son, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he lost courage, and all Israel was disturbed. So there's a lot more unrest again. Abner was the real power behind everything. Everybody knew it. Saul's son had 2 men who were commanders of bands. The name of the one was Bana, and the name of the other Rechab, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite of the sons of Benjamin. For Beeroth is also considered part of Benjamin, and the Beerothites fled to Gittaim and have been aliens there until this day. So these are 2 men who are servants of the house of Saul, essentially, in like maybe like commanders of raiding parties or something like that. Verse 4, now Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the report of Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened that in her hurry to flee, he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. So this verse may seem out of place, but it's to tell us, okay, something's about to happen to Ishbosheth, and it's telling us that there truly is no one else that is fit to be the king of Israel. Mephibosheth here is, by family line, qualified. However, he is not physically qualified because he's crippled. One of the main things that a king must do is lead his army into battle. He must be a great warrior, and that's something Mephibosheth cannot do. And so it's telling us there is no one else. Yes, we will learn more about Mephibosheth later on, and so this is kind of inserted here for our understanding that later on when we read more about Mephibosheth, we're not thinking in our mind, well, why didn't he become king? This is to tell us why. It's because he's crippled. He's not qualified physically. Verse 5, so the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Bana, departed and came to the house of Ishbosheth in the heat of the day while he was taking his midday rest. They came to the middle of the house as if to get wheat, and they struck him in the belly, and Rechab and Bana and his brother escaped. Now when they came into the house, as he was lying on his bed in his bedroom, they struck him and killed him and beheaded him, and they took his head and traveled by way of the Arabah all night. Okay, so you have these 2 men who are servants of the house of Saul, Benjaminites, what do you call them? And they, in this unrest, this period of unrest after Abner's death, they decide, we're gonna take out Ishbosheth, and in doing so, hope to get some favor with David. This is very similar to the Amalekite. You know, this is what you want, right? This is your enemy. I'm going to deliver him over to you, and, you know, is there a $100 million reward in that as well? Because that would be pretty nice. So that is what they do. They come into the house. He's taking a nap, and they pretend like they're getting some wheat from some inner part of the house, and they end up stabbing him in the belly and then beheading him, and then taking his head back with them. And this was a very shameful thing to do. Not only was it cold-blooded murder, but he was defenseless. He was napping, for crying out loud. And then to also cut off his head was a very shameful thing to do to the body. And it was, you know, the trophy kind of a thing, like David did with Goliath. So this is what they do. Verse 8, then they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Thus the Lord has given my lord the king vengeance this day on Saul and his descendants. They really believed that they were doing something that God would approve of. They believed that they were following the will of the Lord with their actions. And then David's response, verse 9. David answered Rechab and Bana, his brother, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, as the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life from all distress. He's saying, it's God who protects me and saves me and rescues me, delivers me from my enemies, not you. It's the Lord who does this. When one told me, saying, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and killed him in Ziklag. So that's in reference to the Amalekite. Which was the reward I gave him for his news? How much more, when wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own house on his bed, shall I now require his blood from your hand and destroy you from the earth? Then David commanded the young men, and they killed them and cut off their hands and feet and hung them up beside the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the grave of Abner in Hebron. So David, again, has this clear desire for justice. And unfortunately, I wish he would have done that for Joab as well, but he doesn't. But he does for these men, same as he did for the Amalekites. Who are you to put out your hand against someone that God has raised up? God raised that person up, and it was not your job to bring them down, although God did use that to bring Ishbosheth down. And so because they did a shameful thing in the way that they killed and mutilated the body of Ishbosheth, he does the same thing to them. He has them killed, and then he cuts off their hands and their feet, and he has them hung up. And so it's this shame for shame kind of response.
Is there some kind of meaning to the hands and feet?
Um,
I mean,
The only thing I can think of is, and I don't know if it has a connection, is, remember that's what happened to Dagon, the idol of the Philistines, when the ark was with it and it fell over and its hands and its head were removed. I don't know if it had feet or not, but,
Mine says, I don't know, the hands that had assassinated Ishbosheth
mhm.
and the feet that had run with the news.
I like that better.
Gonna represent it to them,
Yeah.
what they had done.
Yeah.
because it was gonna just be equal for equal, then you'd think they'd take the head.
Take the head, right. That makes sense, yeah. But it's, symbol of the appendages that did the deeds,
Carol, hands what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little feet where you go.
All together now. Careful.
A lot of truth in those Sunday school songs.
Yes. You know what? I heard a song. I can't even think of what it was now. But it was at the pool the other day from like a 13-year-old, and I was like, I heard that song when I was a child. That song is still around. Oh my goodness, that's pretty cool.
What was it?
I can't remember now. That's what I know. My memory's not as good as yours.
A Sunday school song?
Yes, the Sunday school song
Oh,
Oh, okay.
at a public pool.
at a public pool.
Well, that's even more amazing.
Yeah.
I
Out of
think.
13
Oh, it might have
Out of
been.
a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I think it might have been like, "This is the day that the Lord," like that one.
Yeah.
It might have been that one. And I was like. And then the next breath, she talked about her boyfriend. Okay.
The two go together. This is the day
Yes.
God gave me a boyfriend. Yep.
Any thoughts on chapter 4? It was short, not so sweet.
A lot of killing in these two chapters.
I know.
I feel like it's just God setting things up so that David can do his thing, hopefully.
Yeah,
But-
right. I love this whole book of Samuel, because we have the ability to see God lining things up and his providence and his, everything that he is doing, as he guides David along, all of the things that train him and prep him for his time as king, and now all of the things that he is doing to make David king. We have the ability to see that from like a bird's eye view of history, and that's a good reminder that that's happening in our lives as well, because when you're just down here in the thick of your everyday mundane, struggle and toil and drudgery and everything, it's hard to remember that God is truly in control of all of everything. And this is a good reminder of that, for me at least. If God took care of all of this, he is taking care of me. So,
It's comforting to see the things that aren't so great being used to line up.
yes,
So,
yes. Yeah, God takes even those moments and he makes something of it. Yeah, it glorifies him. Praise the Lord for that, because, yeah. Marilee, would you mind praying for us tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
Father God, we thank you again for what we learned from what just seems to be a narrative, that there's so much of your sovereignty and authority and just how you do orchestrate everything. Help us to remember that you really do have a plan for each of us and that we just need to trust. Thank you now for a beautiful day. Be with